back to What the Forks, the Twilight Book Club. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
This week, we are going to be talking about Eclipse, but we are not talking about the entire book of Eclipse because this is a long one, y'all. So we're breaking it up into 2 podcasts. This is part 1. But before we get into that, I like to do a little Googling, see if there's any Twilight news, because there was so much.
Is there Twilight news?
There's Twilight news?
I mean, there's a little news. It's not like big news.
You know what I want? I want like a siren in my house. Like, you remember the old Batman show where a siren would go off in Bruce Wayne's house? I want that, but for Twilight news.
Like,
but it makes like the Kim Possible sound. It's like,
and then there's Twilight news.
There's Twilight news. There's just like a couple things. Going with New Moon, because all this old stuff is coming out because everyone's like digging into the archives. Apparently, Kelly Clarkson wrote a song for New Moon before they had even like started looking for music for the movie. Did you guys know this?
No, and I feel cheated.
And it never made it. She never like officially really recorded it. It's called Empty As I Am. And it's so good.
I already know that's going to be a Kelly Clarkson banger because Kelly Clarkson only makes bangers, first of all, especially when she gets emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah. And she said, this was her quote in an interview. It says, "It was written before they were actually looking for songs for Twilight. We are nerds and love the books so much. It's a very sad book, the saddest one out of all 4. It's this whole Romeo and Juliet tragic kind of thing." And so she was inspired by that and wrote Empty As I Am, recorded like a little scratch demo, and you can find it on YouTube. There's only like 1 video. I will share it on our Twitter.
Justice for Kelly Clarkson. I am so mad.
Right?
Kelly be writing my jams.
We deserved you.
We deserved Kelly.
We did. And we let her down by not using the song because it was actually perfect.
But sidebar, sorry, as a Kelly Clarkson fan, any song off of her album like My December could have been a Twilight song.
100%.
So y'all.
I know.
You done goofed.
Stephanie Myers is now doing the interview rounds, because she's, prepping for the release of Midnight Sun.
Gotta press it.
And she was talking about how Midnight Sun is going to include a scene that she felt was missing from Twilight. And it's been bothering her for years. And she always thought the editor would have caught it and no one ever said anything. So she never wrote this scene that she wanted in the book. However, she's being really secretive about it. And she's not telling us what this scene in the meadow was that she feels is missing, that she's going to write into Midnight Sun. Does anyone have any ideas? Because I don't know.
It's the scene from the movie, Can You Run As Fast As I Can?
Like, what do we drink?
Say it.
Yeah,
say it. No, I can't think of it. And I mean, we literally just read this book. I can't think of a scene that I felt was quote unquote missing from them being in the meadow.
Same. So no. I don't know.
Maybe he creeper stalk watches her in the meadow.
Maybe he talks to Emmett there, and they talk about their feelings. I have no clue.
Because it's got to be between the two of them if it's missing from Twilight, since it's told from Bella's perspective.
Right, yeah, it's got to involve Bella somehow. So,
listeners, if you have any thoughts on what scene is missing that's going to be included now in Midnight Sun, please let us know, because we're all lost.
Maybe that's when they make out for the first time, and that's why they fall in love so fast. I don't know. I got nothing. She shows him the nipple. Just one. Just a slip.
So Nikki Reed has now done more interviews too, and people are also finding old archived things. And you know how we love Nikki Reed. We are not Nikki Reed bashers, but we do not care for her blonde wigs. But I need to let y'all know that apparently in the first book, that was her first movie, that was her own hair.
Oh, I low-key remember this. I think she switched to wigs because it destroyed her hair.
Yeah. I just want to say that it looks like a wig in the movie. And that's sad.
I mean, well, that's what happens when you use 40 volume, bleach.
Bleach is hard, guys.
So they stopped that and used wigs. I was just like, it's like a wig from day one. So
yeah, right. I mean, who hasn't had a bad bleach disaster?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. We've all tried it.
We've all done it.
But yeah, that's really it. That's all the fun stuff. A lot of the articles coming out are
just rehashes of old news.
Rehab worst book to best book, best movie, worst movie. So all these fun BuzzFeedy random screen ranty thingies
are
coming out.
They're all fantastic. We love them all equally. They're like our children,
right? I mean, why not walk through a list of comparisons? It's like looking at your exes and seeing who got fat and who's balding.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's it. If there's any other fun news that y'all have seen, send it our way, and we'll talk about it on the next one. So until then, let's jump into Eclipse, guys.
Woo! Woo!
Jumping, splash.
I just want to say, as we begin, that Charlie has slowly become my favorite character in the entire series and even in the movies, because I just love that he's like such a good dad, and as Bella says, he doesn't hover, but he also doesn't hide his own feelings.
And he's just so even. You know exactly what you're gonna get with Charlie.
Yeah.
He's
Charlie
just very
don't play
even
that.
keeled.
And I just like I love his sarcasm. He is the unsung hero of Twilight.
He really is.
When it comes to Edward, like, Bella's going to the door and she's like, coming, and he's like, go away. He does not hide his love of Jacob, when that whole thing happens that we'll talk about where like Jacob assaults her by kissing her. He's like, good for you, bro. And that's the only time I'm disappointed in Charlie.
But I still love
like,
it because
also, like-
he's playing both sides of the field, and we'll get to this later, but he is good for you, bro, but also I'm glad you punched him. So,
Yeah.
It's a little, I love it. I just have to
it's I taught you to put your thumb in when you punch,
Yeah. Like, you should have done that. I've taught you this.
Yeah.
He's like, you are my
You should have
daughter.
known better.
You have failed me. But I just had to start off with my Charlie love, because I think I like him more than any of the Cullens. I like him more than any of the Wolves.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm just like, Charlie, you're my hero, and I love you. So this book starts off, Bella has told Jacob she's going to be a vampire. He's very upset. The movie ends it with Edward asking him to marry her, and she's like, but that doesn't happen until Eclipse. So that's one of the big changes that we could talk about. But Alice, there's murders and mysteries happening. People think there's a serial killer in Seattle.
There's backstories.
This book has a lot, man.
So much history.
So much history. Alice is having visions at school.
Yeah. So rewind just a second, because I feel like this is where my first note starts.
Do it.
So Jacob shows up at school.
Yeah.
Right? Jacob just shows up, rebel without a cause style, no shirt on, and is like, hey, sorry I haven't called you back, Bella.
Yo, do you even have a shirt, dude? She's mad. Edward's keeping them away. He's pulling the battery out of her car so she can't drive anywhere.
Right, and I don't think that, again, going back to when everybody, the kerfluffle about their relationship being abusive.
Yeah.
I don't think he's abusive. I just think he's an out-of-line teenager.
See,
I agree.
This is what was real hard for me, this book.
Go for it.
I'm just going to jump on my little limb. It can't support my weight, but I'm still getting on it. I understand Team Jacob so much because of this book. I was so mad.
This is right where Edward starts to turn,
Edward.
and you're kind of like, Edward, bro.
I was so mad at Edward for I don't even know, 300 pages. Jesus Christ. I could not get past this guy. And maybe it's because I'm on my own little, you can't tell me shit high horse. But I was just like, bro, you're not her daddy.
You can't tell me
Leave
nothing.
her alone.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you. I actually really don't like Jacob because of this book. I will never understand the Jacob train because of this book. I started to like him in New Moon, but I cannot get behind him in Eclipse.
This is how he ended the train
shape, or
in
form.
this book. Because New Moon started it, and then I was like, in the beginning of this book, okay, I get why people are Team Jacob, whatever. I don't know why I hated so hard on you guys. I get it. I get why you like him. And then
Breaking Dawn happens, and that's where I'm just like,
the lip assault happened.
The lip assault.
And then I was like, okay, I can't stand Jacob either.
They're both trash. Bella, leave both of them.
Right? I was expecting her to be like, just leave everyone, don't talk to me.
Right? That's what I really wanted her to do. I really wanted her to flip out and break up with everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone's trying to control her, whether it's her father pushing her to Jacob, whether it's Edward trying to protect her, and she's like, I don't need your protection, bruh. But I also understand where Edward's coming from a little bit, because they can't see her.
Yeah.
If she's with Jacob. So
her future just disappears.
Her future disappears because they can't see the wolves. So that adds he's already super anxiety ridden. So
right. That's what Edward's just a boyfriend with OCD.
Right. Mm-hmm. It just adds an extra level of fear for him, because he knows the Volturi are coming, and he's keeping these secrets from her about Alice's visions, about the newborns, about well, they don't know it's newborns, but the other vampires, and then she starts missing clothes, and he smells another vampire in her room.
So Alice has these visions while they're at school, which they keep from Bella, and then they all of a sudden use the birthday plane tickets that she got.
Yeah,
and this one did kind of bother me, is that you find out nothing about their trip. It's in a paragraph. They're like they're like, oh, we're gonna go on this trip.
Yeah.
And then they go on the trip, And then they come back, and she's like, the trip was great. And then it's over.
And then someone like drops a nugget about like Emma getting in a fight with a werewolf, and she's like, "Excuse me, what?"
Yeah. But like, what about her mom? What about Phil? Does her mom like Edward? Like, there's like a paragraph where her mom is just like, "I think you guys are too serious," which every parent feels that way. Yeah. So it didn't really add anything to the story.
And I that's one thing I really liked about the movie. They add a whole thing with her mom.
Yeah.
And the mom is like talking about like going to Alaska is really far.
Yeah, right. Why you didn't like Forks? You're gonna like Alaska? Like, yeah. Come on, girl.
And she like they really pull on the heartstrings of her being human. She gives her that blanket from all the T-shirts they got from all their like family vacations. Yeah.
But
like,
this is again the movie,
right? I'm saying these are good things that the movie added.
I don't know. For me, the movie was like Eclipse, inspired by Twilight Eclipse. Like,
I don't disagree with that.
I definitely think that Eclipse took the most liberties as a movie. It took the most
liberties. Like it was its whole own world.
Which there's a Harry Potter movie like that where it's just kind of like, this is like
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yes, yeah, the movie that's inspired by Harry Potter. That's nothing like the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I think it's very much inspired by, but the movie gives us things that the book doesn't. We get to see a moment with her and her mother that we don't get in the book. We get to see the fight between while they're in Florida, while they're chasing Victoria and the run-in with the werewolves and like the quote unquote misunderstanding. You know, we see the opening scene of the movie is the leader of the new vampires being turned. Yes. So there's a lot of like little bits it fills in, but then I also feel like it cuts out things that are important.
Yes, agreed.
Mm-hmm. So like there's no like kidnapped sleepovers because Edward has to go eat.
I love the kidnap sleepover.
What?
I love it. I hate it. I hate that he controlled her that way. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was like very funny. Like it was a very funny scene.
Yeah. I was so mad about that.
I wasn't mad.
How do you just like kidnap someone?
No, I was bitter about it. I feel like Edward was out of line, but I enjoy like her forced time with Alice, and I enjoy how Alice is like, man, I got to do it because I want this Porsche. Right? I want my Porsche.
Like, yes. Girl.
But see, those were the things that made me feel for Jacob because Jacob came and rescued her from school. You know?
I love that.
And I loved that. He was like, I'm taking you away. And he's like, just be your own self.
James Dean fun. Jacob over here. Get on my motorcycle.
He asked her, like, what do you want to do? And then she's like, anything. I'm free right now. Those statements are like, crazy because it means she's feeling like a prisoner in her relationship right now. That's not cool.
This book doesn't do Bella justice in that she's very slow up until the second that she isn't. Like, she is so dumb. She doesn't realize that Alice's vision is about her and Victoria. Mm-hmm. There are just a lot of like small clues that she doesn't pick up on. She doesn't, when they have the sleepover, she doesn't realize that, like there are just so many things that she's just very slow until the second that she's not.
Yeah.
And I feel like they really like took away some of her agency in that.
Mm-hmm. I also like that, Alice did try to keep things fun.
Yes.
For Bella, she could try to shroud her away from the craziness that was happening, even though she's seeing everything. And I like that Jacob was trying to keep it light because in a sense, after a while, he knew too.
Yeah.
I also like that Jacob was always on Bella's team, even if it was in his own interest of wanting to be with her. Mm-hmm. I thought him, like, thinking about the way Bella looked while, like, Edward was gone and putting those images in Edward's head. Like, that is
so shady. So shady, petty. I loved
petty
it.
Insult. But also, like, that's what Edward deserves. Because he broke all of our hearts, okay? Not just Bella's.
One of the things we get in the girly kidnapping sleepover is we get Rosalie. I was like, Renee's the mom.
No.
We get Rosalie's backstory.
Yes.
Which really kind of like, they do a quick version, but I think the movie actually did hers a little better justice than other backstories.
I love Rosalie's backstory. I think it is the most compelling. Mm-hmm. I would watch a whole movie just based on Rosalie.
Oh, me too.
So... Yes, all of her backstory. However, this is my one beef now, having reread the book again and being older and having a better understanding of how time works. Rosalie is over here crying about how, she didn't get a choice. And I'm not saying that she's not valid. Her it's very valid. But when she's talking about how, like, I've lived longer than I should have and blah, blah, blah. My grandma was older than Rosalie. Like, Rosalie isn't that old. Rosalie, be quiet. Like, you're not even as old as my grandma, Rosalie. Right. Like, you would still be alive right now.
Exactly.
It's like, calm yourself.
Calm down. Like, okay, yes, you didn't get to have a husband and have babies the way that you wanted to / should have. At this point, you should be a 70-year-old woman and have grandchildren. But you're not that old.
I also liked kind of how the movie gutted it just a tiny bit, because when I read it, I was like, ooh, dang, if they really did put all of this in the movie, it'd be like, girl, you're such a privileged prima donna. Like, you know, people would come down hard on her and be like, oh, she kind of deserved it. Yeah. Because, you know, this happened during the Depression where not everyone was doing well, you know. Actually, no one was doing well. And here she is, like, the daughter of a middle-class family who's marrying up, supposedly. But, you know, she had a really tragic ending, and she had the best revenge for it too.
She really did, though.
Like, I live to be the dramatic of killing my fiance who raped me with all of his friends in the wedding gown I was going to wear to marry him and murder him.
And when she's like, I've only murdered 5 humans, and then she's like, oh no, 7. I forgot about his gods.
It's like, yes. But I want to ask you guys, do you think Carlisle was valid in turning her?
Yeah.
I mean, his reasoning wasn't very good. He was just like, the smell of the blood I couldn't handle, and so I wanted to save her. Like, he doesn't really have a good reason.
I mean, he doesn't. In this book, he doesn't. You kind of have to put things together yourself. Right. Edward was lonely. He thought that Edward needed a companion. He can't just like kidnap somebody and make them Edward's companion. So it really just was like a perfect storm for Carlisle of like, yo, Edward needs a companion. This is the prettiest girl in town right now. She's going to die if we don't do anything to her. She didn't deserve this death. You know, let me just do my thing.
A lot of like mental gymnastics for him to like make it happen.
No, it's definitely
favorites of favors. Favorites of favors.
And I appreciate that Rosalie like says, I was jealous of you because he chose you. Yeah. You know, she's like, he never chose me. He was never into me, and I'm super hot. And I never understood about it. Yeah, she's like, I'm a little bitter about it, but like, it's not because I want to be with him. I'm just mad that he chose you. Like, I'm all jealous.
I will even say, as somebody who doesn't think they're
everybody
that hot,
wants me.
Like, I have felt that way before. Like, as somebody who doesn't even think that they're hot, I have felt that way, and I have literally told someone like, listen, I don't want you, but I don't want her to have you either.
Like, I don't understand why you don't want me. It's whatever. Yeah, I appreciated her.
Have you seen me, though?
Have you seen me, though?
I appreciate her being honest. Back to just Jacob and Bella kind of hanging out. I appreciate, this is the one thing I do appreciate from Jacob in this book before he takes an ugly turn for me, is that he asked Bella the really tough questions. Like, he does. He makes her, like, think about it. He's like, so everything is back to the way it was before you left? Like, you forgave him for everything that...
Do you remember?
Do you remember what happened? Like, he used those memories against Edward, but then he also made Bella answer for them. And her answer is, like, her explanation of why she forgave him. She's like, Edward left me. I'm going to just read it from the book. Edward left me last fall because he didn't think I should be hanging out with vampires. He thought it would be healthier for me if he left. And it's like, he can't argue with that. Because he stayed away from her because he was turning into a werewolf and also felt that wasn't safe for her at the time. So I appreciate Jacob asking the hard questions about why she forgave him.
Back to what we said about movie number 1. Bella's human friends get no justice in these movies. Like, they're so, because in the books, like, she hangs out with Angela and has a really great day with her and like gets her mind off of things. And, you know, like, she does have a set of human friends that she does care about. And she even says, you know, hanging out with Angela is going to make this change in becoming a vampire. Like, she really has to second guess herself and think about it.
Because she's got real people in her life that care about her, that she cares about. And, you know, Edward's like, well, they'll all be dead anyway, so you'll get used to that, right? And like, I just like Edward has never been pro turning Bella.
No.
And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have. Like, maybe when reading or just learning about the series, like, he does not want this for her because he believes he doesn't have a soul. He never wants to take her soul away, and he wants her to live a full and complete life with him.
Which is probably the crux with him and Rosalie. Because they both feel as if they had a choice, they would have been human.
Yeah.
Which, that's a bad choice.
If I had a choice, a vampire could walk in this room right now and be like, yo.
I hate it here.
Yo.
Yeah. I appreciate, like, and also, like, with this versus the movies, Bella actually fights Edward on his actions hard.
Yeah.
Super hard. And eventually he goes off after one of these, like, kidnap sleepovers and he apologizes. He's like, you know what? You're right. This is not how I should be behaving. You should be allowed to go where you want to go. And we're going to figure out, like, you're right. If you believe he can keep you safe, I believe he can keep you safe.
They have that argument in the bed, which is fucking ridiculous. The whole bed. That whole bed was a plot device just to give us a scene with a heavy petting.
Fair enough. I mean, but I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad about it.
Like, give it to me. I will take it. Oh, Jacob. And I'm like, oh yeah, more Jacob stuff. I'm like, I appreciate him, like, not appreciate, but I like how he's throwing stones in a glass house where he's like, vampires shouldn't exist. It's like, bro,
you're a werewolf.
Werewolf should not exist either. So I don't know what you're talking about. And then, and we've talked about the Jacob rolling up because, she tells him, Alice knows when I make decisions. So if she sees that I have said that I'm going to go hang out with you, Edward will know. And he's like,
right? She won't know if I made a decision.
Yeah, I love that. I just roll up. I would hop on that back of that motorcycle and be gone.
This book is it's long and it's very exposition heavy, but we get a lot of descriptions that we need. Like we get, way more story about the Culettes again. We get their whole backstory. We learn about imprinting, which
that was my next
at
topic.
the time we're like, this is why are we learning about this? And then later we realize that it's important to the story.
Yeah.
But also gross.
Just garbage. Just a garbage ass plot device. I'm sorry.
On this kidnapping adventure, Jacob talks to her about imprinting. And I like how he just like stares at her really hard when he's talking about it. Because he's like trying to force the imprint on her. And he's like, can I?
He's like straining. Yeah. He's that meme with the guy who has the bulging vein.
Trying so hard, but but it's so creepy, and he brings it up because he's talking about Quill has now imprinted on an infant, like really like a toddler, and Bella's creeped out by it. She's like, yo, me, what?
But Jacob also says, well, I don't want to see anybody else, as in even if he's not going to imprint on Bella.
He's walking around with horse blinders on so he doesn't look at any other girls. He doesn't want to
look at any other girl because he's like, I'm not trying to imprint on any other girl. If it's not going to happen with you, then it bet not happen with nobody else.
Which, I mean, that's loyalty. That's loyalty.
That's just pressing real hard. But he tries to explain it like it's not, sexual. It's just like he wants to be there for her. He wants to protect her. He wants to, be her best friend. And then when they're old enough, then maybe... Why would you choose anyone else? It's like, because free will, bro.
That's gross. Because it's nasty. Because I don't like it.
We're not trying to have a Celine Dion moment.
Because I don't like it.
You know what I'm talking about? Celine Dion and her 100-year-old manager when she was 14.
Also, he's all the man I need.
He's all the man that I need.
Have you even met any other men? Have you met other men?
Anyone?
Do you know any other men?
No, it's super gross. It creeps me out, and it doesn't get any better. And I understand why Bella's so angry later about it.
I remember reading this the first time and being like, well, this is just a very weird subplot. And then when I realized it was foreshadowing, then I wanted to stab myself.
Yeah, why? And and they bring it up in the subtle way of with Leah and Sam, and how she's heartbroken, and they're like, and I hate that he makes it such a girly thing. He's like, all we hear is her pining for Sam. It's like, all you do is pine for Bella, bro.
Right? Listen,
look in the mirror.
But
all y'all hearing all of each other's thoughts is uncomfortable.
Other tidbit that came with this was that the growing thing. Yeah, she's like, but. He's going to be 1,000,000 years older than that baby. And then she's like, actually...
we just decide to stop being werewolves when we age.
We have to decide to stop being werewolves, And then Bella's like, damn it, am I the only person here getting old?
I know, she's so obsessed with age. She's
obsessed with aging, which I feel like is a very 18-year-old thing to do.
Yeah, she's like, I'm older than Edward. Oh my God, you're going to stop aging and you're always going to look like this and I'm going to be 30.
I just love that they're like, I'm hanging up my werewolf coat, bro. I'm done. I've had enough.
This ain't it.
That it. The end. The end.
I mean, they scars, so.
Yeah. I want to just take a minute. Can we just imagine, because Jacob shows up and she, like a lot of us, don't think about how werewolves get naked, right? Their clothes burst out. And I just love that Jacob shows up with pants tied to his ankle. And I can just imagine him stripping in the woods. And then
tying his pants to his ankle.
Leg. I just think it's a really funny image. It's kind of like the image of him whittling that tiny,
right? It's just a very practical,
baby wolf.
It's like, okay,
it reminds me of the
practical moment plopped into this impractical
movie
world.
with Edward Norton where he's trying to buy pants and he's like, I need ones that are moss stretchy because he knows he's going to turn into the Hulk.
So that they don't all rip
these
up.
Just dumb practical moments.
Yeah, I just So we've gone to happy place. Edward is now okay with her hanging out with Jacob.
Yeah. Bella's declared that she's Switzerland. She's neutral in the vampire werewolf war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's no more pushing the magnets together. Yeah. They're just deciding to live on the same wall.
Yeah. Jacob won't let go his hatred of vampires, but it's not so much that Jacob hates vampires. He just hates Edward.
Yeah. He just doesn't like Edward. He doesn't like competition.
Yeah, he doesn't want
fair.
the competition. He doesn't want any of that. And it's fine.
And as our history lessons continue,
Yeah, right. I know, I'm scrolling up. I'm like, which one came first?
we get to Jasper, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
on. Sorry,
Well-
I just read this thing and I thought this was a really cool tidbit. So when Jacob is looking at Bella's arm, you know, she's got that bite from James.
Yeah.
Her bite glitters.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a fun thing that I forgot about. And it's like, you know, when she twists the bite into the sun, her bite glitters. And I'm like, that's really kind of cool.
Yeah. I also feel like it's not very conspicuous because what if she's just in math and then Jessica's like, yo, what the fuck's going on with your arm?
She's like, I just play with body glitters. and then everyone can be like, you body
I went to
glitters?
Bath and Body Works. Don't worry about it.
It's just some lip smackers my mom sent me. I wiped it off.
Yeah. So when Bella gets home after her date with Jacob and Edward is there and he's upset and she throws like Switzerland, she goes into her room and she's like, where's my shirt? Why is this missing? And everyone goes in for a sniff and they realize that, right? They're like, something doesn't smell right.
Something's wrong.
That someone else has been in your room. Have you had that feeling where, you know, someone's been in your house,
Oh, yeah.
someone's been in your room,
So yes, I have throughout my life, but I very much remember the first time that I saw Toy Story. And I remember as a kid being like, this explains it. This explains that feeling of when I go into my room and things aren't where they shouldn't be. It was the goddamn toys.
Really, it's just your mom.
Yeah, no, really it was my mom. But like, but I've definitely had that, you know, when you walk in and you're just like, this is not how I left things.
I mean,
Did I leave things like
I have a
this?
roommate. You know, I call and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
roommate,
Yeah, did you go in my room?
did you go in my room?
Yeah. Because it's creepy. It's a really
Yeah.
uneasy feeling.
And I will say now, as an adult, my mom and I do still live together. We're more of a housemate situation, but there are times where she does have to go, and she will text me and be like, yo, I had to go in your room because I heard stuff fall down. I just left it where it was.
She's like, I just want to make sure nothing broke.
Yeah, right. I want to make sure like it was broken, but just so you know, like there's a fucking mess in there because all your shit fell down.
Yeah. And at the time, Bella has the perfect reason of why she thinks stuff is missing. She thinks Alice just took it because
They were going on a surprise sleepover.
and she's like, oh, she took my shirt for clothes. Kidnapping sleepover. So she's like, oh, she took my pillow because you know
sleepover.
And she's like, oh, I didn't even look at the bed, so obviously it's there, and I didn't notice it until everyone starts.
She's
sniffing
rationalizing
around.
for sure.
Yeah, and then like that is terrifying, and they don't know why they're there. Alice isn't seeing anyone in the visions, and they're all just like, what is going on? And they're finally letting her in on the fear a little bit.
But they still haven't connected anything. It's just separate, random occurrences.
Yep, separate pieces.
Totally
of story.
random happenings.
We still don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And then, you know, Bella now has permission to hang out with Jacob, and Jacob gets real mad at her still choosing to be with Edward, and then decides his best course of action is to assault her.
Well.
And making out.
That was
You're
after
skipping
the
ahead.
Jasper history.
Let's get to Jasper's history, because I feel like Keiki and I both have notes about Jasper's history.
Fine. I do too. But I'm just like, well, we also got like the tribe history.
Yeah.
He takes her on the date to learn the tribes of they were like spirit
Is
walkers.
the tribe history first, or is it Jacob's
It's
history?
the tribe history.
It's the
first.
tribe
Jasper,
history.
sorry. Yeah, okay, tribe history first.
And this was a
They
lot
go
to read back to back.
Yes.
Because it
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
Woo, woo.
I was
But
like,
they go
why
to
was this my
they go
favorite
to a
book
barbecue.
again?
They go to a barbecue, and the tribe starts telling stories.
yeah.
And everybody's there.
And you learn that they're like spirit walkers, and then eventually the spirit walker gets trapped. Like there's just a lot, and then they
The
become
third
wolves,
wife.
and then the third wife, and then there's like multiple levels to this story, and you're like,
It's way more involved than Jacob ever let on in the first book.
yeah, or even that the movie does. The movie's
Yeah.
like, we don't need to know about these like whisper walkers that just lay down in the like spirit walkers
Yeah.
that just lay down in the meadow. Maybe that's a scene.
Maybe that's the scene where the spirit walkers lay down in the meadow, they leave their bodies there, and they go and do spirit things.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, we're going to be friends with the wolves. And they climb in the wolves. And the wolves are like, yes, join us. And then you're like, okay.
Okay.
It's just a very interesting, weird, long history of why they're werewolves.
There was more russet skin in this one. There was somebody else describing a vampire, and somebody's like, oh, yes, she's beautiful. She had white skin just like all of us. And I'm like, you racist bitch.
Yeah. And then you get Jasper's history, which they don't really like talk about in the movie. Unless I stopped watching the movie when we stopped reading the book. So it's very possible during the training scene, we understand that Jasper was like training newborns for a long time.
Yeah. Jasper's history is very interesting, but I once again have to get on my social justice soapbox and say, fuck you, Jasper, for fighting for the Confederate Army, you bastard.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
To be fair, a lot of them didn't have choices back then.
Yeah, but also, fuck the Confederacy.
Fuck the Confederacy.
I've been a Twilight fan longer than the Confederacy was around, all right, y'all?
But he was turned by like a beautiful Latina woman
who had white skin just like all of us, because
he was trying to save on the road, and she was like, "Oh, you look like a snack."
I know, right? Like, was it 2 sisters or 3 sisters?
It was 3 of them, and one of them was like, "I'll use a snack."
And it's like, okay, well, we'll make this happen. Bite, bite, bite. Let him go, and then make their armies, and like that's how we learn the Volturi, like how they regulate if things get out of hand. They let people fight it out themselves.
Yeah,
but. Jasper.
And we learn why baby's covered in scars.
Yeah.
Like, so tortured.
So tortured all the time. But they don't show his scars in the movie. You don't know any of that. You're like, poor
He's
guy.
just a sad guy. He's just a sad guy.
He's just a sad guy. Sad guy. Sorry. I like Jasper. And Jasper used to be my favorite, and I am not sure why.
Because Jackson Rathbone is a hottie. He's a hottie McTottie. That's why.
Maybe that's what did it.
I was not super into Team Jasper, but my best friend at the time was, and it got me into Team Jasper to the point where we would like go to 100 Monkeys shows and stuff like that.
I've been to a 100 Monkeys show.
Yo, 100 Monkeys was dope though. I was sad when there was no more 100 Monkeys music, because they were dope.
I went to a 100 Monkeys show.
Yeah. Yes. Oh God, I love it so much.
I like Jasper's story because when it comes to every other vampire that Carlisle has turned, they all have like this I was gonna die and then someone saved me story. And Jasper has this,
hey pretty lady,
like, real come to the side of the good type of story where he's been through some shit and then he came around to it and he found Alice and he was like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I needed, So it's like where you have all these other people who are just like, I was dying and he turned me. I was dying and he turned me.
I don't remember.
I fought a bear and he turned me,
I fought a bear and he turned
me. I love that when he finally meets up with Alice doesn't even like introduce herself or anything. He just shows up and Alice is like, took you long enough.
And he's like, okay. Jasper will do anything for a cute girl. That is what we've learned.
That's what we've learned about Jasper.
He's like, you want to turn a bunch of newborns and train them? Got you.
You've been waiting for me in this diner? Okay.
Got you. Yeah, and like I like how during this too, they're like, maybe you should talk to the tribes in the South, and he's like, that's a bad idea. Nope, don't care. That's a last resort. I would rather team up with the werewolves.
We're not gonna do.
Right, that's what we're not gonna do. We are not gonna go down there and talk to her. It's not today. Not today. Sorry, that was my.
That went a place.
We're in a place. So then there's a lot of jumping back and forth of her hanging out with everybody. She goes to hang out with Jacob. And now can we get into my anger?
Yes, about the kiss.
Yeah, you can be mad
first
now.
of all, he tells her he'd rather her be dead for real than be a vampire.
Which is a horrific thing to say. Like, there are certain things, I don't care how mad you get at somebody, there are certain things that you cannot say to them, and that's one of them.
Rude.
Yeah, I was like, that's super rude. And then he decides that his way to force her to love him, he's like, there will never be anyone but you. She's like, you might imprint on someone else, but no. There'll never be.
I have on horse blinders.
I have on horse blinders, and I will not see anyone else. And he like grabs her face, grabs it, and kisses her. And the way it reads, I thought I highlighted it, but she just basically describes how she just goes like a dead fish.
Yeah, she just goes limp. She just goes limp.
Puts her arms down, and you don't get that in the movie.
No.
In the movie, you don't see.
In the movie, they kind of make it seem like she's kissing back or she's into it, but in the book, she's like
dead.
I was shocked, and then I just went like just lifeless, just limp,
in hopes that he would stop.
Yeah,
that's what she says. In hopes that he would stop.
That's rape, y'all.
That is a straight up assault. I can't even sugarcoat it.
100%. He's just like fishing in her mouth, hoping that kissing her would change everything. And she punches him in the face and breaks her hand.
But still, she punched him.
She punched him, and he deserved. And I was like, in that moment, you're dead to me, Jacob.
Right. That's
you are not my friend. I don't give 2 shits about you. Get out my life.
Basically, I was on your team for a minute. I was riding with you. I was rocking with you, Jacob. And then you ruined it.
But this is the part that makes it even worse. So not only does he do this, and I'm already just like, I'm so done with you, but then he like thinks it's funny. Like he totally has the the opinion or the position of like somebody who does assault. He's like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah,
it's funny. She broke her hand. It's funny. I'm gonna drive her home. She's gonna go to Carlisle. It's not that big of a deal.
Like,
yeah,
I'll do it again.
Go home and think about this. You're gonna think about me while you're with him. You're gonna think about the fact you have choices. That's so gross. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah, like you need to pick me before I like pick me over him, and it's because I'm warm.
You can't have a relationship without consent, bruh.
None, zero, zilch. And I don't know how Edward didn't rip his head off in that moment.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like rip it off, snatch it off.
And then you get Charlie, who's very much like on the side of his daughter with, well, I'm glad you punched him, but then also like, well, good for you, Jake, because he doesn't like Edward.
Shot. You shot your shot.
That's not how you shoot your shot. That is not how you shoot your shot, Charlie.
Yeah. Okay. I found my highlight of the reading of her when this happened. Can I just read this? Because it's so like, I won't read the whole thing. It just says, I started to object. You see her start to say no. I started to object, but it was too late. His lips crushed mine, stopping my protest. He kissed me angrily, roughly, his other hand gripping me tight around the back of my neck, making escape impossible. Like,
that does not sound like a good kiss. Like, it doesn't.
I don't need to read any more than that. I was reading this and my heart sank because I didn't remember how assaulty it was.
I remember that they kiss, but I remembered it being a kiss. Is there a consensual kiss later in this book?
Not in this book.
Is there one in Breaking?
Oh wait, no, it is in this book. I'm sorry. Yeah, because he's like, I won't kiss you again unless you ask me to, and then he manipulates. Because all he does is manipulate her.
Oh yeah.
He, we get to the party and he manipulates her feelings, knowing exactly how to do it. He's a manipulative little asshole who doesn't take no for an answer.
I remember a consensual kiss, but I did not remember this at all. So when I got to this one, I was like, oh, this is bad. This is real bad.
Yeah.
So I was very happy when she punched him.
So happy. And then, they take her to Carlisle's to fix her hand because, like, she doesn't want Charlie to really know. And then, like, Emmett's like, what happened? She's like, I punched a werewolf in the face. And I'm like, thank you.
And then we find out that Emmett and Jasper have a bet about, like, how vicious she's going to be when she's a newborn vampire.
Which is a great bet.
Right? How many people she's going to slip up and murder. And it's like, thank you, guys. I love you.
Here's the thing, though.
No faith in
But
me.
I feel like it's not even that they think she's going to slip up and murder, like, from an eating standpoint. I think they think that she's just going to get, like, attitude adjustment. You're getting on my nerves. I'm a vampire and I can kill you now.
Right. So Alice decides it's a good idea to throw a party in the house.
Graduation.
Right? A graduation party. Can we pause?
Yeah.
First of all, they graduate and Bella's khaki skirt makes a second appearance.
It does. I have nothing to wear.
She can't find her clothes because the newborn has snuck in and stole the red blouse that she wanted to wear to graduation. She has no clue what she's going to wear to graduation. And she makes a point about how her khaki skirt is laying on the back of her chair, but she doesn't know what to pair it with.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
The khaki skirt is back, y'all.
And thank God Alice bought her a dress.
Yes.
And
Alice bought her a sweater set. It doesn't really describe what it is. It just says it's a sweater and skirt combo. So I just assumed it was like a nice little Talbot's number.
Yeah. It's just got the ribbing, Oh, man.
I like how you take it classy, where in my head I'm like, it's like Fashion Nova, Pretty Little Things.
Oh, I just went like it's straight from Dillard's.
Right? Yeah, no, my head went to like Talbots and Dillard's. Black House White Market, like it was not. It was.
She's just trying to make her a little fashionable in her ultra conservative.
Straight up though, Fashion Nova, like Clueless inspired sweater skirt combo. Now I could get behind that.
I get behind that 100%.
Yeah,
I like fashion, so I'm gonna put it in the best taste ever. Okay,
y'all.
I'm not gonna take it to the bad place.
I want this Twilight TV show reboot with new fashions,
with updated fashion, but it'll all still be 90s fashion because that's the world we live in.
Yeah, it's the world we live in. But 90s fashion is far. Yeah.
We're not getting 90s like Mormon fashion.
No,
we're getting real.
We're getting good 90s fashion.
Cute fashion. If they want to keep her like super covered and conservative, it can still be cute. You don't got to wear clothes that are 3 times too big.
Think about how many 90s movies have iconic fashion styles. You know, Absolutely. The Craft, Clueless.
100%.
This is a TV show, but Fresh Prince. Like I could see this new e-girl 90s wave. Like Twilight could bang with that look.
Oh my God, yes, so much.
Even Dawson's Creek, Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oof. Anyway,
and it would just add more to the mystique of like everyone in the school thinks Edward's hot, but like,
he
doesn't like any of them. They're like, I'm a goth thought.
Hello, why aren't you here for me? And he's just like, my lady.
Can you imagine like Jessica just being like totally beach waved out? And
yes, looking like Don Schaefer from Babysitter's Club and being like, why doesn't he like me?
Why does he like me? And like you'll have like the cute like e-girls.
Yeah.
And like
Alice just looks like Cher from Clueless like every day, showing up like to school in like a red Alaya dress, and she's like, "What? I'm a teenager." This is how teenagers look.
It's like duh. Has F, guys.
So we're almost to our stopping point.
We're almost to our stopping point, which is the party. Alice has another vision, and they finally decide to let Bella in on what's been going on.
And it's at this point where I wrote again, oh, Bella's a fucking detective. She's been so dumb throughout the whole book, and she's the one who puts it together that the newborns and the missing clothes are all connected.
All connected.
Everything she knew.
And they still don't know if it's Victoria. They still don't know if it's the Volturi, which is something that the movie kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah.
The Volturi are there watching the newborns wreak havoc, and they're like, "What do we do?" And like, "Well, we can't ask Aro because his thoughts and decisions are being watched. We have to make a decision." And you've got Jane just being like, "Let it happen.
Fuck it. Fuck it."
Decisions.
She's bitter
Jane
about the
loves
Cullens.
drama.
Yeah, and she's bitter about the Cullens too. They're all bitter about the Cullens because they wish they could be the Cullens.
Right? Don't hate me because you ain't
peacefully.
me.
Yo. And they decide to let the wolves in, and Jacob's like, "I'm making decisions."
So, first of all, back to this party. Nobody knows how to react. Like, nobody knows how to react to this party. Because none of the human friends have been to the Cullens' house before.
No, and they're all
so
like...
there's, like, shock at them, like, being in a strange house.
Yeah.
And then Alice has, like, decked the house out, like, full party style.
Like a club.
Like a club. So now they're in, like, Vegas. They're in Hakkasan, but in Forks in the Cullens' house. Right. And then the boys from the reservation show up, like, with no shirts on.
Right? And they're like, do they not own shirts?
It's Vegas.
But we know, couldn't they just tie their shirt to their ankle like they do their short?
White pants on one ankle, shorts, or shirt on another ankle.
Why can't that happen?
Shoe in the mouth.
It'd be so good.
Yeah, because they already have to carry their shoes in their mouth, right?
Yeah.
Or just leave them and come back to them later.
Yeah, that's overwhelming.
If I was a werewolf, I feel like I would just have like a stash spot where I'd be like, this is my stash spot where I hide my clothes.
Hide my clothes. Yeah, my shoes.
I'd hide them there. I'd go do my werewolf business. I'd run back to my stash spot and get dressed again after.
Yeah.
That's smarter than
I
tying
know,
my
I'd
pants
build like a closet in the woods.
Yeah, right. I'd just have a closet
and they'd be like,
in the woods.
ooh, look at this regal, sparkly closet.
Yeah, right?
What is
Oh,
this?
well, if I gotta...
It turns into a moment
It's
for
my
Sleeping
wear
Beauty, and
closet.
the owls are wearing your hats.
There's no moment. I mean, think about it. If you're a werewolf, there's no moment where you have to mysteriously change back into a human because someone will see you. You know, like all of your shifting back and forth has to be thought out just a little bit. So, closet in the forest.
Yeah. So how, in the end, we have an alliance, and this will happen, and we will continue reading on from here. But so far in this book, we have all said this was our favorite book. Do we still feel that way reading it now?
Yes, and I do think that I think the reason that it's my favorite now that I'm rereading it and knowing myself is that this is the book where things actually happen. Nothing happens in book one. Nothing happens until the baseball scene.
Right.
So that whole book is just a book of setup, and I love it, but like not my favorite.
And same with New Moon. It's just a big setup.
New Moon, again, another big book of setup. Book 3 is finally where we start to get action and like plot and like things are moving, even if they're not, we're not yet at the climax, but things are still moving and we have way more story. And then things just go off the fucking rail in book 4. So I think that's why book 3 is my favorite, like favorite by default.
There you go. Keiki?
I'm on the fence now. I still haven't finished the book, so who knows? It could change. It could be like that one Star Wars movie where like I walked out thinking it was good, but it was just because the badass fight scene at the end. But really, the whole movie was kind of trash, So maybe that's why I loved Eclipse so much, because like it was just so like badass towards the end. But right now, I'm just like, this kind of feels like the first book to me, where I kind of just drudge through a lot of things happening to get to like this big crescendo of cool things happening. So I don't know if it's still my favorite book yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm a little bit on the fence as well. I do like, there's a lot of things I like and a lot of things I don't like. I think it has a lot of pacing issues. It does have a lot of pacing issues. So extra stuff that's unnecessary. The chapters are also longer.
So one thing that we skipped over, but that I do love about this book is that we finally find out why she's so hesitant to marry Edward. And I love this speech so much because I absolutely identified with it at the time, where she's like, I'm not that girl. I'm not some young, dumb kid who gets married right out of high school to her high school sweetheart because we live in a small town. I'm not stupid. I can't do this.
Everyone will think I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the stipulation is like Edward will not, she wants Edward to turn her. Carlisle has offered, Emmett has offered, Alice has offered, everyone has offered except for Edward. And he's like, I'll do it if you marry me.
Yeah.
And she's like, excuse me?
No, I'm not. I ain't that girl.
Yeah, exactly. She's not the small town girl. Everyone will think I'm pregnant girl.
Yeah.
No shotgun weddings. And that, you get that in the next movie. It's one of the lines I remember Jessica being like, so how long until we all know she's pregnant? And what's hilarious is that happens. So, yeah. Was there anything else that we skipped over that you guys want to talk about? Because, I don't care if we go in order or not.
It was just that. That was the only one that I thought about. That was it.
All right.
But it's it's still my favorite. I don't know. Maybe reading Breaking Dawn again will change my mind. Maybe Breaking Dawn will become my favorite. Who knows?
Right?
Who knows?
It's definitely a different reading experience reading it now.
It really is.
As a kid. And I my friend and I would have, Jasper was my favorite and Emmett was hers. And now I'm kind of like on the Emmett train.
Team Charlie?
I'm Team Charlie 100%. But if I have to pick a vampire, I'm a little bit more Emmett because I just love that doofy man.
So I will say, the first time around, I felt like my favorite Cullen was Edward. And even a couple episodes ago, I was like, oh, my favorite Cullen is Emmett. But like as of today, Alice, for sure.
There you go.
Alice is great.
What about you?
My favorite Cullen was Jasper, and then it became Emmett, and now I think it's Carlisle.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting.
That's super interesting. Why Carlisle?
Because he's fine, though. Hey, Peter Facinelli.
Hey, daddy.
Because his attempt to humanize something that, was taken from him, which is human life, and create a family and still, look over and honor and care about all these vampires that aren't his actual children, I just think is like beautiful.
It is noble.
Noble to still care.
Doctor,
he's a doctor.
He's still a doctor.
He's doing things not in spite of, but despite of.
Right. Yeah. And he's still his whole secret power is helping
his
people.
Whole secret power is helping people. And that's everybody in this family has some type of little crazy power, and Carlisle's like, I can handle the smell of blood, and I'm just going to help people.
And that's why I've said for years, even from my first read through, Carlisle is a far more compelling character than Edward. I would watch season upon season of a show about Carlisle.
Same.
Because he's just such a compelling character.
And I would love to see it start before he became this well put together man.
Yeah.
Where he's eating rats in the sewer. And hanging out with the Volturi. I'm down. Awesome. Okay, well then, is that it? Are we hitting a pause button, and then we'll come back with the rest of
chapter 18 to the end?
To the end.
With a part two.
With a part two.
Okay, this movie really should have been 2 parts, though. If we're just going to start breaking stuff up, the movie should have been 2 parts.
Yeah, I agree. It's basically we read up to an hour, and then the last hour will be the rest of this book. But yeah, guys, so if you have any thoughts, questions, comments that we missed that you want to discuss, make sure to hit us up on our social media. And then until the next episode, fork off.
Fork off.
Okay.
Stay sexy and don't get murdered. Bye-bye.
Bye. Want a cookie? Just kidding.
All right, let's get the fork out of here.
Get the fork out of here. You hungry?
If you want to know what the fork is up, head on over to our Streamer Links page at streamerlinks.com/smellsliketeenangst to follow all our personal social media and pages.